If I were to ask when the largest gathering of Long Island Jews occurred, I think we could probably come up with various possibilities, perhaps a Salute to Israel parade, perhaps some other Jewish cause affecting all the people of Long Island. We all might have different ideas of when that was. The reality is it actually occurred more than 3,300 years ago. And that was when God gave the Torah to the Jewish nation at Mount Sinai. Our sages teach us that in addition to the 2.5 million Jews that were present at the foot of Mount Sinai and heard the voice of God himself speak, in addition to all those people, all those men, women, and children, were all the souls of all future Jewry. So every single Jew who was alive today in Long Island stood there together with our brothers and sisters at Mount Sinai. And we also heard the voice of God speak to us and present us with his holy Torah. We were there when God gave us the gift. A gift that gives us eternity, a gift that gives us joy and meaning and fulfillment in this world, a gift that teaches us how to become the best that we can be, how to reach our potential, how to become truly great beings. This was a treasure that God bestowed upon us that day, and we were all there. How do we inculcate this treasure? How do we make this treasure part of us? How do we live by this treasure? So the key, our sages tell us, is the study of the Torah itself. We have 613 mitzvos, but of all those mitzvos, Torah study, the mitzvah of Torah study itself is singled out as the key for success as a human being. The key for us to live, as Jim pointed out, to live up to our billing as a person created in the image of God. The way we reach that level of living as one who is created in the image of God is through Torah study. The great sage Rabbi Chaim Volozhin, quoting the Zohar, tells us that when we study Torah, and that goes for any one of our programs, when we are sitting at a Kolo night on Wednesday night, when we are studying Torah in Huntington or East Northport and Merrick, God himself joins with each and every one of us and shares those very words of Torah. As they come out of our mouths, God mouths the same words themselves. And the Zohar says that when we come up with an insight, when we delve into the Torah a little deeper, and we're able to extract a new idea that might not have been previously seen, God takes that idea and he kisses it and crowns that idea with his glory. Torah is what connects us to God. When we study Torah, God is with us. When we study Torah and we bring that Torah study into our homes, the sanctity and holiness of God himself is brought into our homes, is brought to our families, is brought to our children. Torah study is the key for us personally. It's our gift. As Rabbi Grossman said, it belongs to each and every one of us. And it's the key to our success as human beings. Our goal when we started the Long Island Torah Network, we started with a passion. We started with a feeling that it's absolutely imperative for us to share this treasure, for us to be part of sharing this gift with each and every one of the Jewish people that we encounter, as many people as possible. This treasure, as Rabbi Grossman said, belongs to each and every one of us. It's not ours to give you, it's yours. It's the people of Long Island, and it's our responsibility and it's our privilege to be there to share it with you and to share it with ourselves. But the responsibility doesn't stop with ourselves and our own families. The responsibility is for all of us to do whatever we can to reach out to the next person. The Torah says, we just read this last week, about the revelation of Mount Sinai, which we spoke about, where we were all there. We read this week's Torah portion. And the Torah portion says that when the Jewish people approached Mount Sinai, it says that Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar, the Jewish people encamped at the foot of the mountain. And Rashi says, K'ish echad b'lev echad. They were as one people, there was unity. And in the next week's portion, when the Jewish people answered, and when they said to God, Naseh, that we will abide by the Torah, we will uphold the Torah, we will live with this treasure of the Torah, it says they answered with one voice. And the Sefer HaChasidim says they answered with one voice because they understood they were responsible for each other. There was a responsibility and it needed to be unified. There was an understanding that every Jew was responsible for the next. So our responsibility to bring this treasure, to bring the presence of Hashem into our own personal lives And the lives of our families through the Torah study does not end with ourselves and our own families. It begins and ends with every single Jew that we encounter. I'm sure many of you are familiar with many of the unfortunate statistics that have been in the news lately about the devastating toll that has been taken on the Jewish people through ignorance, a lack of appreciation, a lack of awareness of what Judaism has to offer. So many people who don't even know what Judaism has to offer to even know what they're missing. But I don't need to give you statistics. Over the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time in Long Island, and it's not only true for Long Island. You need statistics when you don't see it in your own lives, but we don't need the statistics. Every one of us, we could see it with the person standing behind us online in the counter who casually happens to be on their cell phone talking something about Judaism, how it doesn't really make a difference to them. We know about it from our colleagues, our neighbors, our friends, sometimes, unfortunately, our own relatives. So we don't need statistics. It's so obvious and it's all too real. The need is tremendous, the need is great. And it's our responsibility. Everyone who's here is showing their desire to fulfill that responsibility. It's our responsibility to do what we can for each and every other Jewish person. I recently came across a striking article. It was frightening, but it also had a spark of hope. The article was written by a Jewish mother who says that in light of some of the recent tragic events that unfortunately we know have hit the Jewish people in the last few weeks, she says she's not sure why she should raise her children Jewish. She means well. She says she knows she likes it, but it just seems we're so marginalized. Look at all the problems we're facing. What for? This is tragic. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know the significance. She doesn't know the beauty of Torah that belongs to her and belongs to her children. She doesn't know the meaning. She doesn't know the greatness. She doesn't know the happiness that comes from living a life connected to God Himself. She doesn't know and appreciate the love of Hashem that comes to each and every one of us when we engage in Torah study, when we engage in mitzvos. She doesn't know the love that we feel for Hashem when we engage in those mitzvos. She doesn't know and appreciate the 3,000-year-old chain of her parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, their sacrifice for Torah, their love of Hashem. She doesn't know it. She might never have been taught it. But all wasn't lost. There's hope. Because at the end of the article, it's very interesting. She concludes that her little son was playing after some Jewish program he was at, and he says, "Oh, I like being Jewish." And she says, "Why?" And he says, "I don't know." And she says, "Exactly." So her conclusion is, even though he doesn't know why he likes being Jewish, and she doesn't know why he should like being Jewish, she says we still like it. It's still something we want to be a part of, even with all the horrible things that we've been hearing, even with all the seeming difficulties. It's still important to her. She maybe doesn't know, but we know. And that's because no matter how far a Jew might be from Torah and mitzvos, no matter how far a Jew might, no matter how distant a Jew might feel from Hashem, every Jewish person has a neshama, has a soul. And that soul is connected to Hashem. That soul is connected to God. That soul understands that connection. That soul understands what his parents and grandparents and great-grandparents for thousands of years, the power of their sacrifice is imparted into that soul. So the soul knows. However, the problem is how long could that last? How long could one generation impart to the next? I don't know why it's important, but it just is. Come on, you feel something. It could last, and it has lasted. That's why things are not as bleak as they really would be by all logic. But it's not going to last forever. It's our responsibility to make sure that people such as this woman know. For thousands of years, Jewish people have sacrificed, not just to uphold the Torah and to become close to God themselves, but they've sacrificed to share the Torah with others. As Mora Bracha shared in the Hebrew school with the children, the Hanukkah story, the little boys that spun the dreidels in the cave to hide the fact that they were studying Torah. They had teachers who were ready to sacrifice their lives to teach Torah, to share the beauty of Hashem, to share the beauty of Torah with the next person. The Romans, the Spanish Inquisition, as recently as in the 1980s in communist Russia, where there were organizations of Jews who would fly from America and smuggle in talis and tefillin And Jews would meet in secret to avoid the Soviet authorities to study and drink the precious words of Torah. We don't have to do that today. We're fortunate, we're living in the United States of America. We're free. We could do everything we can to share the beauty of Torah and Judaism with our fellow Jew. We need to do everything we can to do it. We need to do everything we can to make it happen. That's why we started this organization, but we cannot do it alone. We need the support of all those who join with us, all those who support us in every way, who support us by coming to the programs, who support us by reaching out to their neighbors and friends and encouraging them to join us as well. And we need the support of those who support us financially as well. We could do it. Together we could do it. The woman still knows. She knows that it's special to be Jewish. We need to tell her why. If we tell her why, we tell her how special it is. We show every Jew across Long Island how special, how wonderful, how happy a life of Judaism is. We can ensure that the future generations continue to know and understand and appreciate the beauty of Judaism. We can ensure the spirituality and holiness of each and every one of our own homes, ourselves and our future generations. We can ensure that Long Island will become a beacon of the light and beauty of Torah for generations to come. Thank you very much.